in order to get all those that perpetrate crimes accountable. So accountability is actually the key for the Council of Europe in view of its mandate. And second, and very important part for the summit is establishment of the Register of Damage, where we want to see victims at the center of justice. This Register of Damage will allow the victims to be recompensated in the future for any damage that has happened. And third part of our approach to Ukraine and accountability is certainly be ready to support any international initiative on the establishment of tribunal on the crime of aggression. So this is, and of course another important thing will be discussed, and I really believe that we need to address a very particular feature of this war, which is how the children of Ukraine are affected with this terrible war. We hope, and I expect that our leaders will back up the specific actions from the Council of Europe's side in what regards really the situation of all children affected by the war, but in particular also how to approach this appalling phenomenon of abduction of Ukrainian children by Russia.
Around 40 national leaders are attending the summits and various representatives from other countries, including members of the Council as well as observant members. What can you do? How can you assure that this will become more than just a meeting, with just the regular declaration at the end of it? What do you need to do to ensure that this will actually have an effect?
Yeah, well, apart from, of course, tackling the issues that relate to accountability for the war in Ukraine by Russian Federation, we have a number of other issues that are pertinent for the Council of Europe and its mandate, starting with backsliding in democracy, which predates the pandemic and the war of aggression of Russian Federation in Ukraine. So we certainly need to see some more measures from the Council of Europe's side, backed by all 46 member states, how to approach this phenomena that actually in one very extreme way is one of the things that led to this war, because one former member state, the Russian Federation, has departed completely from the values and standards of the international law and standards of the Council of Europe. So, and it was expulsed from the Council of Europe. So, in order to really get back to better times for Europe, for our citizens all around Europe, we need to recommit to the values and standards of the Council of Europe. So we expect leaders to back up the European Convention on Human Rights as a really key treaty for upholding fundamental freedoms and human rights, and in that respect, in particular, execution of the court judgments. But apart from that, we also need to tackle the new contemporary challenges, which are rise of artificial intelligence and rise of problems with environmental damage and its impact on democracy, human rights and rule of law.
And just one last question, Madame. The Reikiavik Declaration has been weeks in the works. Are you happy with the outcome as it stands right now?
I think it covers really broadly everything we need to tackle at this moment. More to upgrade our action, but starting also at the national level. So I think it was a huge work done by the 46 member states and the Council of Europe, led marvelously by Icelandic chairmanship. And I believe with backing this important declaration and later putting it into practice will certainly make life of people around 46 member states better and safer.
Madam, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Foreign Minister, expectations for this summit, what are those?
Well, first of all, we already see them because of the attendance from almost all of heads of state, which is, in my opinion, a statement in itself. The Register of Damages as a first legally binding action for the accountability of Russia is, in my opinion, extremely important. And to see all of the support from these nations that are going to take part in that. So I would mention, yeah, those two.
Are you disappointed that Zelensky didn't come?
I can't be disappointed because I know that he is doing serious work, and I can't be disappointed because we have here the Prime Minister of Ukraine and the Minister of Justice, and Zelensky is also gonna talk to us later today. And with all of these, this big team from Ukraine reflects how important and serious they take this meeting. So I'm not disappointed at all. Although, of course, I would have welcomed him extremely warmly if he could be here.
40 national leaders are attending among and with other representatives. What needs to be done here so that the declaration in Reykjavik isn't just another, document?
Well, we need the support from the leaders, from the member states. Of course, we need to then execute what it says there. Latvia will have the presidency after us. It's a very nice thought for me to give the presidency to our Baltic friends. So, of course, we need commitment, but that's up to us whether that commitment will be there. We are creating the tools, and it's written out there what these commitments are. So I'm optimistic, but I know it will take hard work.
Minister, thank you.
Thank you.
Sigur og Ragnar. Við sendum póstunum upp á daginn. Herðu, ungi maður, hæ. Punkturinn akkurat.
Governing Board of the Council of Europe Development. The Governor of the Council of Europe Development. The President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. The Secretary General of the OSCE.
The whole of Europe, 46 heads of states and government will make clear that the solidarity of our member states is unbroken, that we will not allow an aggressor state to ruin the system of multilateralism in Europe, that we are fully supporting our member states, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, and I think that the signal will be clear received in the Kremlin. There is no way to make us step down. It's Russia who has to leave all the occupied territories that it has in Europe, because that's the only way that Russia can ever come back to the international community. So I think it will be a strong statement of solidarity and a strong statement that those who start a war of aggression will be held accountable sooner or later, including the leadership of the Russian Federation.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Well, we all have to be hopeful, but at the same time we also have to deliver.
We need to make sure that we recommit and to make sure that citizens of Europe truly follow and believe in everything that Council of Europe is doing. So I remain hopeful for the voices of people that are marginalized and that are actually waiting for our involvement and results that will make their lives better than it is at the moment.
Do you think there will be complete unity here at this summit?
Well, I'm hopeful. Of course, the unity is important, but then again, joining voices and our forces in order to also make sure that people that are suffering, as we are discussing future of Europe here in Ukraine and also many other places in the world, are also waiting for the results and to see some progress and also hope in making sure that we have peace, first of all, but then also human rights and justice for many that suffered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights of the United Nations.
Anton, fără sinteză. Nu se dă. E până minton.
Her Excellency, the Permanent Representative of the United States of America to the United Nations. Thank you. His Eminence, Secretary of State of the Holy See. Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Bulgaria. His Excellency, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Sweden.
það ekki Hörður að segja það? Jú, lengur við það. Já, það finnst 40.
His Excellency the Ambassador of Japan to Iceland.
I came from Belarus that faces dual crisis, humanitarian crisis in our country because we have increasing number of political prisoners who are ill-treated, who are in awful conditions, and the other case is that we are facing crippling occupation by Russian Federation. So our message is to be with Belarusian people on their fight to democratic values, to democratic changes in our country, and don't leave Belarus for one day later. The fates of Ukraine and fate of Belarus are intertwined. Without free Belarus, there will be no peace and security in the whole region. So stay with us, support us on this difficult path to democracy.
Do you expect any concrete?
I'm a special guest on this summit. You know, the Belarus is not part of the Council of Europe, but our determination is to be part in the future when the conditions will allow us. But now we are already installing ties, relationship with the Council of Europe to the process of our participation will be smooth in the future. So actually we feel the support of governments of all the democratic countries. So people who are presented here know our position. They are supporting our democratic forces. They are creating multiple points of pressure on Lukashenko's regime to make him release people and to help us to conduct free and fair elections in Belarus. It's up to Council of Europe to decide, such questions. And if it was this decision was made, so I think it's appropriate for them. But of course, I think that people who desire democracy, who want to be ruled, who want to, with the presence of rule of law in their country, they deserve to be part of the Council of Europe. But so is the situation in Russia as well, is awful. And the majority of Russians, it's a pity, they're supporting the war in Ukraine, they're supporting the regime of Putin. So maybe they have to show their unity, that they have right, to be part of the Council of Europe. Thank you.
This very important summit, the first one since 2005, knowing that this is a crucial moment for the Council of Europe and also for all the member states. We expect two main outcomes. The first one is unity and a firm standing in front of the aggression against Ukraine. I think that the step of creating a register of damage, Spain is a founding member of that register. It's an excellent step to make sure that accountability is made, that those responsible for the crimes that are being committed in Ukraine will pay for it. And secondly, we are going to re-strengthen the fundamentals, the basic elements of the Council of Europe that are democracy. Spain will foster very especially equality and social rights. But this is the right moment in front of the Russian aggression, but it's also an aggression to the values of the Council of Europe to reaffirm those values. So those will be the two main expectations that we bring, and our voice will be added to those that will speak in favor of that. Thank you.
When you press Russia, like the new register, what message are you trying to send to Russia?
The message is very clear. We want accountability. Crimes, you cannot get out of them for free. So we will have to think about the reconstruction of Ukraine. Peace will come for sure one day, and we will have to start to think in reconstruction. So on once, accountability will be held, and we will be firm in front of that, and reconstruction is something that we have to assure for a free and independent Ukraine the day that peace will come.
Do you think that it was a good idea to exclude Russia at this point?
It was absolutely necessary at that point. when you violate in such a blatant and flagrant way the principles of the Council of Europe, a political answer, a political response had to be given. So yes, it was the right thing. Thank you.
Son Excellence le Président du Conseil européen.
Position on our support, our collective support for Ukraine, point one. Very important also to make sure that there is no place for impunity. That's why we are taking very important decisions on the question of the damage and this register for damage. And on the other hand, we feel that it's important for the liberal democracies to stick together and to defend our fundamental principles, our fundamental values. We feel the pressure by authoritarian regimes, the pressure also because of growing inequalities in our societies. It's very important to have this occasion to express a very firm commitment.
Her Excellency the President of the
the fundamental principles, and it is very clear that this meeting today is also the occasion to express our full support for Ukraine. We know that the Ukrainians are fighting for our democratic values, for our fundamental principles, and that's why we need to be very firm, very clear. Financial support, political support, military support is also very important, but today and tomorrow we will make sure that the liberal democracies are together in order to defend those fundamental principles for the benefit of our citizens everywhere in Europe. Thank you.
His Excellency Prime Minister of Ukraine.
Welcome to the call. No, I cannot go with them.
Yeah.
Delegations to come through here. The rest of the delegations through here. No. How are you back there? Good to see you as well. Yeah, it's just here. All right.
His Excellency the Taoiseach of Ireland.
Expectations for this
it's a great summit, 46 delegations, and I think we all think in a very similar way. The question of peace, that people can live in peace, is a crucial one, and we have got here in Europe a kind of wake-up call. It's not self-evident. We have to fight for peace, and that's what Ukraine is doing, and that's what we are supporting.
At the same time that you are coming here together in Reykjavik, there are bombs raining down on Kiev.
Yes.
Do you have any optimism for this situation in Ukraine, and what can a meeting like this do?
Well, surely this kind of meeting doesn't solve the war, but our opinions, widely spread worldwide, they have an impact. And on the other hand, if we go to the concrete situation in Ukraine, Ukrainians have been fighting very bravely, and it seems that they have had also success, and they have been able to safeguard also Kiev, for example, from missiles.
Yeah.
That's great to see.
Thank you, President.
That we will be able to close this gap here in Reykjavik. And Lithuania, as you know, is in the first rows of strong supporters of Ukraine.
His Excellency the President of the Republic of Estonia.
President Carr is welcome to Iceland.
First of all, that this event is here in Reykjavik after all these years, and of course the main topic is Ukraine, and most importantly that we agreed to have a register of damages, and next step would be to make it work as well. So this is the main message, and of course to make Russia accountable. That's most important.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Proceed.
Ja,
responsibility for the crimes which were committed in the territory of Ukraine. As I mentioned already, we did a lot in changing our mindset, providing more support to Ukraine militarily, financially, politically, but we are slightly lagging behind in providing necessary legal support. And it means, first of all, legal accountability of the war perpetrators. And the idea of special tribunal for the crimes of aggression in the territory of Ukraine, it's very important. And we were first supporters of this idea. Now we see more and more countries joining this club, and probably we will be able to bring this case to the United Nations in order to see the final resolution of the issue. But Georgia is an important part of our security architecture too. And I'm really looking forward to see the representatives of Georgia in this meeting, and we will have discussion on the round tables. And I hope very much that we will be able to deliver some results in this Council of Europe meeting, because this is a rare occasion. Only fourth time the leaders gather in the capital in order to discuss legal issues. And legal issues are not less important than other issues. You are very impatient. I would support status of Georgia if there are some preconditions, and first of all, implementations of reforms, human rights, the rule of law, and of course, Georgia has to put more efforts in order to be, as soon as possible, the member of our community. I think much was done in the past, but now we still need some dynamic. And I hope very much, I know that Georgian people are very enthusiastic about the membership in European Union. So we have to push your government and your authorities to speed up the process of integration. And I'm really sure that you are able to do this. I like Georgia.
We're very interested in hearing what are your expectations for this meeting?
Well, it's good to be here and to have some discussions in these round tables, and then tomorrow in the plenary about mainly standing together for Ukraine. And looking forward to listen to the others too.
The British Prime Minister has mentioned that he wants to talk about immigration and the channel crossings, which is a subject that you have commented on. Are you expecting to meet with the British Prime Minister during his stay here?
I think we're going to meet, and we are in the same round table, and we'll go around also to this subject of his obsession.
This meeting is to a large extent a signal to Russia. Some voices in Albania say that you feel left behind in Europe, that you're not paid enough attention to. Do you feel that's true?
Left behind in what sense?
That NATO and the EU aren't paying a close enough attention to Albania, and that risks Russia coming in?
No, we are fine, and we're having all the attention we need, and we are giving all the attention they need.
Do you expect to have any bilateral meetings while you're here?
Yeah. We're all together.
Okay, thank you.
Die entsprechenden Normen der Vereinten Nationen. Soll man das stillschweigend hinnehmen? Das geht nicht. Die Bedeutung vielleicht festigen und erhöhen. Denn es ist doch seit Jahren, vielen Jahren, ist das erste Mal, dass sich 40, 50 Premierminister und Staatsoberhäupter jetzt zu einem gemeinsamen Meeting des Europarats treffen. Das ist schon etwas Besonderes. Das ist durchaus möglich, denn das Schadensregister, das ja etabliert werden soll, kann ja nur dann einen Sinn haben, wenn auch jemand dann schlussendlich für die Schäden verantwortlich gemacht wird. Also ich denke, in diese Richtung wird es früher oder später gehen.
Ah, grazie, grazie.
Son Excellence le Premier ministre de la Belgique. His Excellency the Prime Minister of Portuguese Conference.
And all those things are the pressure these days. Definitely Ukraine is very important. The overall migration situation is a bit, which is like United Kingdom, like Belgium, like the Netherlands are really on the migration chain. It's very hard for us to manage that migration, to manage our legal obligations. I think that generally we work better together. We should be able to help them more impact because today we often run a situation where it's not a good.
Prime Minister Frederiksen, a few words for Icelandic television. Welcome to Iceland.
Thank you so much.
Can you come a little bit closer, please? Thank you. Do we have big hopes for this summit?
Yes, I do. Of course, first of all, our cooperation when it comes to Ukraine is top of mind for all of us, and we need to make sure that all allies support Ukraine as much as possible. We know a lot of crimes are being made in Ukraine, unfortunately, also against civilians, women, children, and it's one of the topics we're going to discuss the next coming 2 days, so I look forward.
The Baltic states tried to warn Western Europe about the Russian aggression, but felt that they were not listened to. And now they are asking Europe to move faster in their decision making. Can you agree with that Europe needs to take decisions faster for Ukraine?
Yes, of course, and what's going on at the battlefield right now is extremely difficult, and Ukraine needs our help when it comes to military equipment, so we need more donations. Denmark is, I'm glad to say that Denmark is one of the countries that has supported Ukraine very much from the very beginning, and we will continue to do so. But yes, because of the situation on the battlefield, we need to speed up our internal cooperation and our help to Ukraine.
I heard Zelensky say to you in Helsinki that he liked your planes, and he would like Denmark to send planes to Ukraine. Any news on that for Denmark's sake?
It's still a discussion among allies how we can provide Ukraine with the weapons and the equipment that they need, and of course airplanes, fighter planes is a part of this discussion as well.
Thank you.
Kun flere gange i de her 50 år, at der er et møde af den her karakter. Det kommer på et rigtig, rigtig vigtigt tidspunkt. Krigen i Ukraine har varet i mere end et år. Vi har behov for at blive ved med at støtte Ukraine på alle de måder, vi overhovedet kan. Og noget af det, der så er i fokus på det her møde, det er jo at begynde at stille Rusland til ansvar for de forbrydelser, der er blevet begået. Noget af det, vi især kommer til at diskutere de her dage, det er forbrydelser mod børn og mod kvinder, voldtægter, systematiske voldtægter, overgreb. Noget af det, jeg forventer, vi bliver enige om her, det er jo sådan et form for skadesregister, hvor ukrainer, der har været udsat for forbrydelser, kan lade sig registrere med henblik på, at vi andre så kan understøtte dem i at få retsforfulgt Rusland.
Mødet her i Island kommer jo samtidig med, at regeringen har præsenteret en ny udenrigspolitisk strategi. Kan du prøve at sætte nogle ord på, hvordan det møde
passer ind i den tråd, der er blevet lagt i jeres udenrigspolitiske strategi?
Ja, altså jeg tror et væsentligt nedslag der er, at det, der er centralt for den danske regerings udenrigs- og sikkerhedspolitik, det er jo det, vi så kan kalde det regelbaserede internationale verdenssamfund, hvor det ikke er én mand eller et land, der kan definere grænser eller spilleregler, fordi sådan kan vi ikke få et demokratisk verdenssamfund til at fungere. Nogle af de bedste beslutninger, menneskeheden har truffet, det er jo de beslutninger, der er truffet siden 2. verdenskrig og frem til nu, hvor vi skridt for skridt har fået bygget et velfungerende globalt demokrati op med spilleregler. Det er det, der er så afgørende, tror jeg, for os alle sammen at tage ned, hvad angår Rusland. At det her er ikke kun et angreb på Ukraine, det er et angreb på vores værdier, på den måde, vi tænker samarbejde landet med. Men det er klart, når vi så i dag og i morgen møder så mange lande, med en massiv opbakning til det regelbaserede verdenssamfund, til de demokratiske spilleregler og de grundlæggende menneskerettigheder og værdier, så viser det jo endnu en gang det meget, meget stærke sammenhold.
Krigen er jo langt fra sluttet nu. Giver det overhovedet mening at tale om kompensation fra russisk side allerede til krigen?
Ja, det synes jeg, det gør, og det er i hvert fald helt afgørende, at de forbrydelser, der bliver begået, og her tænker jeg på forbrydelser i bredeste forstand, men det er klart, at forbrydelser begået mod børn, tvangsdeportationer, overgreb mod piger, voldtægter, systematisk brug af voldtægter, det er meget, meget, meget grusomme forbrydelser, som bliver brugt som en del af krigen. Og der tror jeg, det er vigtigt, at vi får en systematik etableret allerede nu, hvor det kan blive registreret, det kan blive dokumenteret, så de ansvarlige kan blive retsforfulgt, men også at alle ofrene på et tidspunkt både kan få oprejsning og også gerne en erstatning.
Sådan som vi lige forstår det her, så er det Danmark, der står i spidsen for den rundbordsdiskussion, der skal være på det område. Hvad betyder det, at det er os, der ligesom har det?
Ja, det er jeg da rigtig glad for, at Danmark og jeg er blevet bedt om. Jeg håber også, det sender et signal om, hvor det er, at vi står i en international sammenhæng i forhold til vores hjælp til og opbakning til Ukraine. Vi har været meget engageret fra starten med en meget, meget bred opbakning fra Folketinget, og heldigvis en meget, meget stor og bred opbakning fra danskerne. Nu skal vi tage det næste skridt i forhold til at ansvarliggøre og holde Rusland ansvarlig for de forbrydelser, der er blevet begået. Det er noget af det, vi skal diskutere i eftermiddag og i aften.
Er der allerede nu nogle tanker på bordet i forhold til, hvordan det er, man skal stille Rusland ansvarlig? Altså om der er nogle helt sådan økonomiske ting, man kan komme efter dem med?
Ja, altså vi er i gang med at afdække en række forskellige områder. Det er ikke helt let det her. Der er noget, der er jura, der er noget, der er økonomi, men man kan sige, enhver holden Rusland ansvarlig for forbrydelser begået, for eksempel mod kvinder og børn, starter jo med, at vi ved, at forbrydelserne er foregået, at de bliver dokumenteret, at ofrene bliver registreret, og det arbejde, det er det, vi forventning, at vi aftaler de her dage, at Europarådet skal bistå Ukraine med at få etableret. Og jeg er bange for, at det drejer sig om rigtig, rigtig, rigtig mange mennesker, fordi Rusland efterlader sig et spor af grusomhed og ødelæggelser de steder, hvor de har været i Ukraine.
regards to a few words for Icelandic television. Do you think this meeting will have an importance?
European democratic states come together to protect what Europe is really all about: democracy, freedom, rule of law, human rights. So the Council of Europe, which is often put a bit in the second line, is now in the first line, because the war in Ukraine is reminding us that this is absolutely crucial.
The President of Lithuania told me earlier today that Europe needs to take decision faster in supporting Ukraine.
I think we have taken very fast decisions, and I think we are all around Ukraine. You see the Ukrainian flag here, and we have been supporting Ukraine in very many different fashions, and we will express that today as well.
Are you convinced Ukraine will win this war?
We have to stand up for Ukraine's right to defend itself, and Norway supports Ukraine materially with military equipment, humanitarian equipment. We have a 5-year plan to support them. And this is not only about Ukraine. It is, of course, they who are being attacked, but the values are also important for us.
Are they fighting also for the rest of Europe, Ukraine?
I think they are, yes.
Do you think it will send a message to Russia that they will hear? Are you going to send a strong message to Russia?
Well, I mean, it's for everyone to interpret. I mean, Russia was sent out of the Council of Europe the day after the invasion. And today they see the rest of Europe coming together today very strongly. So we can hope, but you know what we have seen during this year does not leave many expectations, unfortunately.
Do you think it should be a long war?
Can be, but we have to hopefully hope to see it end soon.
Do you think it was a good idea to exclude Russia?
Well, I think, you know, a full-scale invasion it runs so much counter to what the Council of Europe is all about, so that's why that decision was taken.
And for the Council of Europe, it's been difficult the last years. There's not a lot of knowledge of it. Do you think now it's going to get like more value? Or
I think it is. You know, the Council of Europe often comes in the second or third line, but this was originally created after the war, Second World War, around these key European values, and I think it really has a meaning now when you see what is happening in Ukraine. I think it will be a first step, and you know there are tens of thousands of requests being made by Ukrainians, so I can really understand, and we have to make the first step, and then down the line there has to be some kind of tribunal to deal with this. Yeah. Kommer hit, og det betyr at det har stor betydning. Europarådet kommer ofte på andre- og tredjeplass i oppmerksomhet, men dette er jo de viktigste verdiene som Europarådet står for, og som vi markerer her i dag, og en god del praktiske beslutninger også. Takk.
Their Excellencies, the Captain's Region of the Republic of San Marino.
fornemme, hvad kommer ud af det her?
Hva slags Europa skal vi ha i fremtiden? Hvordan kan land, små og store, være trygge? Leve side om side? Vi kan ikke ha en verden hvor problemet blir løst med fullskala angrepskrig, og det må vi markere her.
Sidste spørgsmål. Hvad bliver Norges bidrag til den her møde?
Vi har bidratt til den erklæringen som kommer. Vi skal jo nå opprette et register hvor ukrainere som har blitt offer for angrep, mistet sine boliger, blitt overfalt, kan registrere sine tap, slik at de på et tidspunkt kan få erstatning. Det er jo en konkret resultat av dette møtet.
Tusen takk.
Takk.
Well, we are a direct neighbor country to Ukraine, so that means that for us the war in Ukraine is a constant threat, and we are in favor of just peace the soonest possible. We have also Hungarians living over the border in Subcarpathia, so we are very worried for their future. We are losing Hungarian lives also in the war, and we condemn, I personally also condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and we are there to help the Ukrainians. We have helped almost 2 million refugees coming from Ukraine so far. Thank you so much.
NATO is partly to blame for the war?
I don't say that. Thank you so much. No. Sok szeretettel köszöntöm Önöket. Az Európa Tanács mostani csúcs találkozója azért is kiemelten fontos, mert nagyon ritkán kerül erre sor. Közel 20 év telt el azóta, hogy az Európa Tanács állam és kormányfői szinten csúcs találkozót tartott. Most pedig egy olyan időszakot élünk, amikor az Ukrajnában dúló háború mindannyiunk számára nagyon komoly aggodalmat okoz. Mi ráadásul Magyarországon, Ukrajna közvetlen szomszédságában élünk, 150 000 magyar ember is él Kárpátalján, Ukrajna területén, ezért aggódunk Ukrajna jelenéért, jövőjéért és Európa biztonságáért. Magyarország abban érdekelt, hogy mielőbb egy igazságos béke következzen be. Mi mindent megteszünk annak érdekében, hogy elérjük azt, hogy végre elkezdődjenek a béketárgyalások, és mielőbb ismét béke lehessen nem csak a magyaroknak, az ukránoknak, az oroszoknak, illetve minden európai ember számára, hiszen abban vagyunk érdekeltek. Ezért jött létre annak idején az Európai Unió, az ENSZ, az Európa Tanács is, ezek mind békeprojektek voltak. Köszönöm szépen!
The order is very flexible.
Já, ertu vongóður þennan fund? Ég held það, já.
Katrín og Þórdís eru góðir gestgjafar og við hljótum eiga þá von að fundurinn fari vel fram og það sem kannski eins mikilvægt, eða í raun miklu mikilvægara, að eftir á hyggja getum við sagt við okkur sjálf og komandi kynslóðir getum við sagt líka, já það var gott að þessi fundur var haldinn.
Þetta aðeins fjórði leiðtogafundur í sögu Evrópuráðsins, mikilvægt fyrir því sakfræðingin. Þú fyrir að hugsa út frá þeim sjónarhóli að slíkur fundur gerist hér á Íslandi?
Ég held að það sé fyrst og fremst mikilvægt að fundurinn haldinn. Hann haldinn í skugga grimmilegrar innrásar Rússa í Úkraínu og það tilefnið og örlögin höguðu því þannig að við förum með formennsku í Evrópuráðinu þegar til fundarins boðað og þá reynum við bara að standa undir þeirri skyldu og þeirri ábyrgð eins og sjálfsagt lítur að teljast.
Can I ask for British media,
Yeah.
what's the kind of main message you want to get across today? Is it Ukraine? Is that the focus?
In the immediate term, Ukraine must be the focus. There is war in Europe and there can be no peace and lasting security in Europe when there is war on European soil. Looking further ahead and taking the wider view, climate and youth are issues close to our heart here in Iceland, so we believe as well that emphasis must be put on those issues as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, chance and fate, we are honored to hold the presidency of the Council of Europe, as are other states who take on that obligation. And it just so happens that it is decided to hold this summit when we hold the presidency. So we try to do our best, and I can, for all I can say now, it seems to me that the preparations have been going fine, and that we aim for a successful summit, and there is no reason to think that we will not be able to look back and say to ourselves, and future generations can say to themselves as well, that the summit produced lasting results.
Well, what do you hope those results will be?
A clear statement on the determination of the nations, states and peoples of Europe that aggression will not be tolerated, that those who have committed crimes must be held to account, and that we will contain and establish a registry of damages to make sure that we cannot tolerate violence, invasion, aggression and atrocities on European soil in the 21st century.
This morning, several Icelandic institutions, their websites were knocked down in severe cyber attacks that have been ongoing for the last 24 hours at least. Does this summit not mean that Iceland has become a target?
I should think that something similar would have happened in other countries as well, and we unfortunately receive news every now and then that websites have been attacked in various parts of the world. So I should think that this is not something that is unique to Iceland, and that we just have to take this as part of our responsibility in today's world.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Udam, you present in this country?
We'll have to see, but at least it's a step forward. Once we know the facts, we will be more able to step what damage it will cause, and not at least
Rady Europy to jest rzecz zupełnie wyjątkowa. To jest czwarty szczyt Rady Europy w formule głów państw i rządów. Czwarty od 1993 roku, kiedy w Wiedniu był pierwszy. Więc przez 30 lat odbyło się ich zaledwie 3 do tej pory. To jest czwarty. Odbywają się wyjątkowo w specyficznych, bardzo ważnych okolicznościach, można powiedzieć, takich przełomowych momentach. No dzisiaj widocznie, jak widać, taki moment jest. Oczywiście jest on związany z tym, co dzieje się dzisiaj w naszej części świata, w Europie Wschodniej, ściślej mówiąc, wobec rosyjskiej agresji na Ukrainę. Będziemy rozmawiali o tym, jak ją zatrzymać, jak spowodować, żeby Ukraina obroniła się, wyparła Rosjan ze swoich międzynarodowo uznanych granic i odzyskała nad nimi kontrolę, i w jaki sposób pomóc Ukrainie się odbudować po tym wszystkim. To będą na pewno najważniejsze kwestie, o których tutaj będzie mowa. Myślę, że ten właśnie nowy porządek swoisty Europy, mam nadzieję, w przyszłości także i do Unii Europejskiej i NATO, to są te tematy, które będą tutaj najbardziej żywe.
A Pana główne przesłanie tutaj do innych polityków?
Że musimy wspierać Ukrainę w sposób nieprzerwany, że nie może być czegoś takiego jak zmęczenie tą sytuacją, zmęczenie wojną, że jeżeli zgodzimy się na to, żeby rosyjski imperializm zwyciężył poprzez zagarnięcie ziem Ukrainy, to za chwilę będziemy mieli kolejną wojnę wywołaną przez rosyjskie imperialne ambicje. I know, but this is political decision.
Will you support Georgia in December?
I support Georgia. In general, I support Georgia.
And also in December?
I support Georgia. In general.
Yeah, will you
I've been supporting Georgia for years.
Yeah, but will you say yes to candidate status for Georgia?
Yes. Yes. In general, I support this open door policy of the European Union. Yes, we joined European Union in 2004, Poland. Yes, and my opinion is that we should keep the door to European Union still open for new member states, for new candidates. Georgia is one of them.
Thank you so much.
Would you recommend for us to join the European Union? Iceland.
Oh, this is the decision of the people from Iceland. This is not my decision. No, not now.
Any message before the summit?
Although I think that one of the most important issues of that summit is Ukraine and how to help Ukraine. That we should support Ukraine. Ukraine should win this war. And the question is, what it means that Ukraine should win the war? Ukraine should regain control over whole its territory recognized by international community. And this is the most important topic. I think we will discuss this problem. We will discuss how to help Ukraine and how to make Russia withdraw its military forces, its troops from Ukraine.
Are you optimistic that will happen soon, in the next months or years?
I don't know. It's a good question, but I think that we should still help Ukraine. We should support Ukraine.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Chancellor Scholz, can we ask your main objectives today?
Teillerse.
So, that was a long.
His Excellency the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
Prime Minister Rutte, you watch right on the television. This is an important meeting.
Yes, it's exactly the right time for the wrong reasons. Russian aggression against Ukraine. Also collectively about our safety.
Holland took Russia to court and also the number. Passenger air flight. Also very important to take Russia to court because of the crimes in Ukraine.
Well, as you know, the Netherlands is working with our to make sure that you can register which damages which is really being felt at this moment, and that will be one of the concrete results
Prime
of
Minister,
this.
a very quick word. What are your priorities today?
Human is crucial, and I really feel it's really bad.
Tangible deliverables, tangible results in support for Ukraine, in support of the Ukrainian peace formula, but also tangible results for democracy and human rights in Europe.
What is the message to Russia?
The message is very clear, a solidarity with Ukraine.
All this, perhaps short, because we've been under attack. Icelandic institutions, website and such have been attacked for the last 24 hours. What is your take on that?
Well, it does not surprise us. We were prepared for that attack, but it shows really the importance of this summit. So thank you all.
Primarily something for the Council of Europe, so the register for damage, that's something the Council of Europe can work on. But it will be the UN, Ukraine, and in other formats where we'll discuss the other accountability issues. That's one of the reasons why the Dutch Foreign Minister Wopke Hoekstra and colleagues brought together this group of friends on accountability to make sure that we discuss in the right format where should we do what to make sure that accountability takes place.
Nog steeds lid van deze club was geweest.
Het was onvermijdelijk dat hij uit deze club is gegooid, gegeven de verschrikkingen die hij heeft aangericht.
And do you think this club will be revived? I mean, the Council of Europe has been, not very well known. Do you think it will be good for the future of the Council of Europe? What's happening now?
The Council of Europe is not an organization which organizes summits every year. I think this is the fourth summit since 1949. However, for me, for us in the Netherlands, it is an important institution, not only because of the Court of Human Rights, but also of the fact that within the context of the Council of Europe we can discuss very sensitive issues, like what happened after the downing of flight MH17. And the Council of Europe has been very helpful in the follow-up of that, including in the legal track which started after 2014. So do not underestimate the importance of the Council of Europe, even despite the fact that it is not always on television and being in the headlines. Wat wij doen is praten met een aantal landen. Ik had net een goed gesprek met Rishi Sunak, de premier van Engeland. We werken ook met landen als Denemarken, België en andere. Praten we hier intensief over. Er zijn nog geen besluiten te melden. Maar we werken stap voor stap ook verder op het punt van de F-16's.
Not attending. They are leaders, as you say, summit which is happening every 20 years. They are not here. What do you think? Which kind of message from these countries?
I wouldn't read too much into it. I believe all these countries are important member states. Obviously, we have to keep each other, let's say, very agile. So we will no doubt discuss that, but also some of the developments inside Georgia will be on the agenda.
So what about the candidate status at the end of the year? Will you say yes?
It's not up to me. It's not up to me. It's always up to the Commission to advise the European Council on which step to take. And we were able in, I think it was May last year or June last year, to decide on candidate status for Moldova and Ukraine. Not yet on Georgia, but we have really had an in-depth discussion about Georgia. And Georgia knows that we are really following events and that we hope to come to a next stage. Well, on Schengen we have discussed many times, including of course with the President, that it's not up to us. We have to await the next assessment by the European Commission to see whether enough progress has been made. So we are not against Bulgaria joining Schengen, but we have to make sure that all the prerequisites have been taken care of.
Mr. Prime Minister,
Well, obviously, we are not on one page on everything, but generally in terms of the European orientation of Georgia and the fact that Georgia is also working towards making sure that they can bring Georgia to candidate member status. And it's not up to me to decide whether they are there. That's up to the Commission to advise the European Council. But no doubt that will all be on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Voor Dear guests, the Prime Minister of Iceland.
Distinguished colleagues, dear guests, it's a pleasure and a privilege to welcome you to Iceland to the Reikiavik Summit of the Council of Europe. Bienvenue à tous. Depuis sa fondation, le Conseil de l'Europe a servi comme organisation directrice fondamentale à ses membres pour faire progresser les droits de l'homme, la démocratie et l'État de droit. Si le principe fondamental de l'égalité des droits de tous, quelles que soient les circonstances, reste une notion radicale pour quelques-uns, il constitue la base de la Convention des droits de l'homme. And it is to that core mission that the Parliamentary Assembly, the European Court of Human Rights, the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, the missions in Strasbourg and the Secretariat, and our institutions and missions are dedicated. However, we are not gathered here in celebration, but under the cloud of war. Russia's aggression against Ukraine is the gravest assault on peace and security in Europe since the Second World War. In addition to huge military casualties, it has led to massacres, rapes, and murders of civilians. To the people of Ukraine and to President Zelensky, I want to say this. We have tremendous respect for your determination to resist, and we will continue to stand with you and to call on Russia to withdraw its forces from Ukraine as the first step towards ending this war. We also demand accountability and a just peace. The victims of this war have a right to be heard and not to be subjected to oblivion. This senseless war in our continent is contrary to all the values for which we united with the founding of this Council. It's a grave assault on the very principles that make Europe more than just a continent, but a common cause. Dear colleagues, in recent years we have witnessed increasing political attempts to undermine basic values, subvert democratic practices, and weaken the rule of law. Democracy has come under strain due to various forms of authoritarian encroachments. And we are facing a widespread and violent pushback against women's rights and freedoms, gender equality, and LGBTI rights. We should not forget that the democratic concept that underpins the European Convention on Human Rights and the European Social Charter is inclusive. It requires that the rights and interests of all are considered, including those most vulnerable to violations of their basic rights. The very concept of human rights for everyone continues to be contested, and without firm resistance, hard-earned rights can disappear in an instant or wither away in silence. It's also a reminder that a democratic political system is not a given. It can survive only if it's embedded in a society that allows it to prosper. The Reykjavik Summit has three main objectives. First, to reaffirm our support for Ukraine, to adopt concrete measures to address accountability for war crimes, and to strengthen the Council of Europe's role as a leading human rights organization. Second, to renew, in general terms, our commitment to the democratic human rights values that our societies are based on and that must be nurtured and protected. And lastly, by recommitting to our values, we seek to meet pressing global challenges. The climate and the biodiversity crisis is affecting all parts of the world, with rising temperatures fueling natural disasters, food and water insecurity, economic disruptions and wars. The exponential growth of artificial intelligence raises profound questions about its detrimental as well as its beneficial effects, about the nature of knowledge production, control of information, and ultimately its influence on democracy. We have a duty to make this gathering a meaningful undertaking. We are here to discuss problems that need urgent action, and let us make the most of this opportunity. To conclude, I hope that the Reykjavik Summit will be remembered as an event when European leaders stood in solidarity with Ukraine, as well as a venue for reaffirming core values in a time of war and democratic backsliding. to ensure that our common cause, Europe, will be able to meet the enormous challenges ahead. And with these words, I declare the Reykjavik Summit of the Council of Europe formally open. And now it's my great honor to introduce the next speaker, who is joining us online from Kiev. President Zelensky, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister Daughter, dear Catherine. Thank you for invitation to participate in the summit of our Council of Europe and for your sincere desire to help Ukraine. Dear leaders of Europe, today Ukraine went through a difficult challenge, an intense Russian missile attack. Such challenges are what we all have to pay attention to now. At 3 o'clock in the morning, our people woke up to explosions. 18 Russian missiles of different types were in our sky, in particular ballistic ones, which the terrorist state has boasted about. We were told such missiles would bring a guaranteed death because they are supposedly impossible to shut down. Russia used ballistics, cruise missiles, drones at the same time to make it especially difficult for our defense to save lives. But all lives were protected. All missiles were shut down, including ballistic ones. 100%. This is a historical result. Thank you all. Russia is trying very hard to improve its ability to kill. We are trying very hard to improve the protection of our people. And I thank all the countries and leaders who help us to improve our air defense. Altogether, we are showing what our 100% mean and what the power of the free world means. And of course, I thank every our soldier who makes this job done in our skies and on a land, and especially I thank each and every who trains our warriors in different training missions, which are all similar in one point, in success. Thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of you. A year ago, we were not able to shoot down most of the terrorist missiles, especially ballistic ones. And I'm asking one thing now. If we are able to do this, is there anything we can't do when we are united and determined to protect lives? The answer is that we, in unity, will give 100% in any field when we have a goal to protect our people and our Europe. And of course, there is still much to be done. Ukraine's territory is big, and to make air defense results like last night's the rule throughout the country, we need additional air defense systems and missiles. We also need modern fighter jets, without which no air defense system will be perfect. And I am sure we will get there. 100% should be our benchmark. We must leave 0% to the aggressor. 100% of success of defense operations is guaranteed by weapons and training of our soldiers. And I thank everyone who strengthens our defense. 100% of success of sanctions is guaranteed by honesty in every state policy. And I'm grateful to all those who threat the fight against terror in this way, honestly. 100% of success of our peace formula is guaranteed by diplomacy, and I thank everyone who helps us unite the world to implement the peace formula, the only realistic peace plan, and of course, 100% of justice. And there will be no reliable peace without justice. And I thank the Council of Europe, each and every of you personally, for the decision of the register of damages caused by Russia's aggression. This brings closer the creation of a full-fledged compensation mechanism that will show the world that aggression is not worth even thinking about. There should also be a special tribunal for the crime of aggression, so that those whose heads this terror was born in are brought to responsibility, and I'm sure that we will provide this result for 100%. Europe has been waiting for such times when leaders would act in 100% unity and with 100% results for the sake of protecting Europe, for the sake of our common values. And finally, this is what we are achieving now. Ukraine, all of Europe, and everyone who is currently at this summit and who helps us. We are Europeans, so we are free. We are Europeans, so we value peace. We are Europeans, so we act at 100% of our strength when it comes to protecting our way of life. Let this be forever the rules of our continent. Thank you for support. Slava Ukraini! Glory to Europe!
President of the French Republic.
Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Madame la Première ministre, chère Catherine, Madame la Secrétaire générale du Conseil de l'Europe, Monsieur le Président du Conseil européen, Madame la Présidente de la Commission européenne, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Mesdames et Messieurs en vos grades et qualités. La cadence des sommets du Conseil de l'Europe le montre. Les 4 rencontres organisées en plus de 70 ans indiquent que notre rassemblement aujourd'hui intervient à un moment de bascule et d'inflexion pour notre continent. Aussi, je remercie la présidence islandaise d'avoir pris l'initiative de ce sommet. Merci Madame la Première ministre de nous accueillir à Reykjavik dans ce moment crucial où nous devons en effet porter nos efforts pour conserver ce qui nous lie face aux bouleversements géopolitiques mais aussi technologiques et anthropologiques qui secouent notre époque. Je suis venu ici exprimer la conviction partagée, je le sais, par chacun ici que notre conception européenne de l'humanisme fondée sur le droit et la liberté est non seulement nécessaire, mais vivante et forte. Nous disposons d'autres enceintes pour échanger sur les conflits armés, sur les grands équilibres stratégiques, et la communauté politique européenne que nous avons fondée à Prague et qui nous réunira à nouveau à Chisinau est un lieu qui nous permet d'œuvrer pleinement à tout cela, mais un seul lieu nous permet d'agir pour la sécurité démocratique de notre continent, le Conseil de l'Europe. Il demeure la maison solide de la démocratie, de l'état de droit, des droits de l'homme pour les citoyens européens. Et il doit continuer à les protéger face aux nouvelles menaces, celles que le changement climatique fait peser sur la protection des droits de l'homme, comme celles qui accompagnent l'émergence d'un monde entièrement repensé par le numérique et de plus en plus par l'intelligence artificielle. Et face à cette convergence des périls, je souhaite que notre Conseil continue de se concentrer sur sa mission de protection de la démocratie et des droits de l'homme. Cet espace de droit est aussi affermi parce que la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme, ferment d'une communauté juridique européenne, en constitue la clé de voûte. Dès lors, il est indispensable que ces arrêts soient appliqués sans exception et nous en prendrons l'engagement grâce à une déclaration et une feuille de route commune. Cet espace de droit peut et doit aussi continuer à travailler en bonne intelligence avec d'autres comme l'Union européenne. Cette complémentarité est évidente. Dans toutes ses missions, le Conseil sait pouvoir compter sur l'engagement de la France pour demeurer un pilier de la défense des libertés fondamentales. La République, pour nos concitoyens, garantit les droits et libertés. Nous avons ainsi fait avancer la prévention et la lutte contre les violences faites aux femmes. Nous continuerons d'œuvrer pour l'égalité, quel que soit le genre ou l'orientation sexuelle. Et nous déclinerons et continuerons d'agir avec force contre le racisme, l'antisémitisme et les discriminations liées à l'origine. La France est aussi déterminée à porter ce combat en dehors de nos frontières. Et il s'agit d'un axe majeur de notre politique de solidarité internationale. Nous portons ce combat pour nos valeurs au sein des enceintes multilatérales, que ce soit contre la peine de mort, en relançant en 2021 une initiative pour l'abolition universelle de celle-ci, en faveur de l'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes pour soutenir la ratification de la Convention d'Istanbul, ou encore pour les droits LGBT+, et en particulier la dépénalisation de l'homosexualité. Nous le redirons haut et fort demain à l'occasion de la Journée internationale de lutte contre l'homophobie, la lesbophobie, la transphobie et la biphobie. Notre communauté européenne de valeurs est forte, enfin, de ce que 70 ans de dialogue et d'œuvres juridiques ont accompli. Une institution incarnant la réconciliation, à laquelle fait écho la ville symbole de Strasbourg où siège le Conseil, incarnant la conversation perpétuelle des pensées et du multilinguisme, avec entre autres la langue française au cœur de son système, incarnant l'union des peuples européens au-delà des blessures de nos guerres. Et c'est sans doute parce qu'il a été pensé comme le remède à la guerre et aux périls autoritaires, sans doute aussi parce qu'il est fort de cet héritage que le Conseil de l'Europe s'est montré à la hauteur du moment et de l'histoire. En effet, le Conseil de l'Europe a réagi rapidement et fermement à l'agression de l'Ukraine. La Russie avait choisi souverainement de rejoindre notre institution au même titre que l'Ukraine. Le Conseil a ainsi incarné la possibilité d'une autre voie, celle du dialogue entre ces deux pays. Et si la Russie a pris de son seul fait la décision d'agresser l'Ukraine, dès lors le Conseil a mis la Russie face à ses responsabilités en l'excluant dès le 16 mars 2022, à raison. Dès le début de la guerre aussi, le Conseil s'est mobilisé pour soutenir l'Ukraine et l'aider à documenter les exactions commises par la Russie. Je pense au bombardement d'infrastructures civiles, aux viols utilisés comme arme de guerre, aux meurtres, à la torture généralisée, aux déportations d'enfants ukrainiens. À l'occasion de ce sommet, le Conseil montre de nouveau la voie aux côtés des victimes de l'agression en créant aujourd'hui un registre international des dommages causés par l'agression de la Russie contre l'Ukraine. J'appelle tous les États à y adhérer et à contribuer activement à son élaboration. Notre Conseil s'est aussi mobilisé en faveur des enfants ukrainiens, ceux qui ont cherché la sécurité sur nos territoires, à qui nous devons protection et assistance, ceux qui ont été déportés, enlevés, arrachés à leur foyer, à leurs proches, livrés à des inconnus. Les transferts forcés d'enfants sont des crimes de guerre et généralisés peuvent constituer des crimes contre l'humanité. La Russie doit rendre ses enfants à l'Ukraine et elle doit le faire immédiatement. C'est pourquoi je le redis devant vous, et je sais que vous partagez cet engagement, nous continuerons à apporter notre soutien indéfectible à l'Ukraine, membre de notre famille démocratique européenne, autant qu'il le faudra. L'expertise technique reconnue du Conseil en matière juridique et institutionnelle soutiendra ainsi la résilience de l'Ukraine. Nous le savons, l'Ukraine a également besoin d'un appui financier. La Banque de développement du Conseil de l'Europe dispose d'un positionnement unique pour aider le pays et pour financer la reconstruction d'écoles, d'hôpitaux, de maternité en Ukraine. Je propose que nous puissions lancer un grand projet pour qu'elle puisse au plus vite intervenir et appuyer l'installation d'une centaine de centres de santé mentale en Ukraine pour venir en aide à tous ceux qui subissent au quotidien les lourds traumatismes que cause ce violent conflit et comme l'ont demandé les Ukrainiennes et Ukrainiens eux-mêmes. La Banque pourra ainsi se porter également auprès des autres États de la région qui doivent faire face aux pressions déstabilisatrices de la Russie et ont accueilli des milliers de réfugiés. Le Conseil de l'Europe, nous le voyons, a devant lui les périls du siècle. Rien ne doit entamer notre optimisme lucide, ni notre détermination, nous, grande famille démocratique européenne. C'est ici et ensemble que nous continuerons à défendre la liberté d'expression, les élections libres, les médias libres, l'indépendance de la justice, la lutte contre la corruption, que nous continuerons à soutenir sans relâche les Ukrainiennes et les Ukrainiens et que nous ferons grandir la dignité humaine en éradiquant la torture ou les traitements dégradants, que nous combattrons dans le monde entier la peine de mort. En un mot, nous serons toujours ensemble et résolus pour défendre l'humanisme européen pour nous et pour tous ceux qui entendent cet appel universel. Je vous remercie.
Dear guests, the Federal Chancellor of Germany.
Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, meine Damen und Herren! Als der ehemalige französische Premierminister Édouard Herriot im August 1949 die beratende Versammlung des Europarats eröffnete, waren die Wunden des Zweiten Weltkriegs noch ganz frisch. Herriot sprach vom Recht der geballten Faust, vom Kult der Gewalt, der unseren Kontinent ausgehend von Deutschland in Schutt und Asche gelegt hatte. Umso klarer war für Herriot und die anderen Väter und Mütter des Europarats, was sie diesem Unrecht der geballten Faust künftig entgegensetzen wollten. Die Stärke des Rechts über die politische und kulturelle Grenzen hinweg. Die Überzeugung, dass Macht an Regeln und Gesetze gebunden sein muss. Und das Versprechen, dass alle Bürgerinnen und Bürger gleich sind in ihren Rechten und Pflichten. Herriot und seine Generation hatten am eigenen Leib erlebt. Es gibt einen untrennbaren Zusammenhang zwischen Rechtsstaatlichkeit, Demokratie und dem Schutz der Menschenrechte auf der nationalen Ebene und dem friedlichen Miteinander auf der internationalen Ebene. Der Krieg, mit dem Deutschland, Europa und die Welt überzog, wurde erst möglich, weil die Nationalsozialisten zuvor Demokratie, Gewaltenteilung und Menschenrechte in Deutschland auslöschen konnten. Wer diesen Zusammenhang einmal erkannt hat, der begreift, der Europarat ist heute so wichtig wie wohl niemals zuvor. Am 24. Februar vergangenen Jahres hat Russland die Ukraine überfallen, um Territorium zu erobern und Grenzen mit Gewalt zu verschieben. Deshalb war es richtig, ja vollkommen unumgänglich, Russland aus dem Europarat auszuschließen. Auch die Zusammenarbeit des Europarats mit Belarus haben wir aufgrund der Unterstützung des russischen Angriffskriegs durch das Minsker Regime zu Recht suspendiert. Und um auch das klar zu sagen, dass sich in Russland antidemokratische, autoritäre Entwicklungen durchsetzen konnten, spricht nicht gegen den Europarat, sondern dafür, dass wir unsere gemeinsamen Regeln künftig noch ernster nehmen, dass wir sie als Frühwarnsystem verstehen für den Friedenserhalt in Europa. Konkret folgt daraus zweierlei. Erstens, jedes unserer Länder muss seinen Pflichten als Mitglied des Europarats nachkommen, ohne Abstriche. Dazu zählt, dass wir alle Urteile des Europäischen Gerichtshofs für Menschenrechte konsequent umsetzen. Wir müssen eine vermeintliche Niederlage vor dem Gerichtshof in Straßburg in Wahrheit als Gewinn für Menschenrechte und bürgerliche Freiheiten begreifen, und zwar überall in Europa. Und dank der Vorbildfunktion des Gerichtshofs sogar
in Strasbourg is actually a win for human rights and civic freedoms throughout Europe. And since the court is a role model, often worldwide, the Council of Europe has often been a global pioneer in preparing our democracies and our law-based states for the challenges of the future. And so it should remain, be it in safeguarding human rights in the digital age or in upholding the right to a healthy environment. Now, my second point has to do with the lessons that we need to learn from Russia's aggression. Central to that is the fact that we must support Ukraine with all our strength on its democratic European path and in defending itself against Russia's aggression, securing its legal institutions and in reconstruction, for example, using the Council of Europe's Development Bank, as well as in capacity building in the justice system. And the Council of Europe is also said to be important in punishing the Russian occupiers for their war crimes and demanding accountability for the enormous damage that they are causing day in and day out. The register of damages that we are poised to bring about here in Reykjavik will play a central role in that process. Now, we are at a historic turning point. And we must get on with the accession of Ukraine and obviously the countries of the West Balkans and Moldova and prospectively Georgia to the European Union. The Council of Europe has an important role to play in that process, not least thanks to its huge expertise in the Venice Commission. The Council of Europe has to do its utmost to make sure that democracy, human rights and the rule of law take hold throughout Europe. Now, that might sound barely conceivable looking at Russia and Belarus today, but at some point in time, Russia's war against Ukraine will come to an end. And I can assure you that it would not be a victory for Putin-esque imperialism, because we will support Ukraine until there is a just peace. And until such time, the Council of Europe must maintain links with representatives of another Russia and another Belarus, and in that way keep alive the prospects of a democratic and peaceful future for both countries, as improbable as that may seem right now here today. This chimes with the founding principles of the Council of Europe. Internal freedom, democracy and the rule of law go hand in hand with external peace. And this corresponds to our demand for peace and freedom throughout our continent for men and women alike. Thank you.
Dear guests, the President of the Council of Ministers of the Italian Republic.
Buon pomeriggio a tutti. Voglio ovviamente ringraziare il primo ministro e il governo islandese per questa ospitalità, ma soprattutto per la determinazione con la quale hanno lavorato perché questo vertice del Consiglio d'Europa, la cui idea nasce a Torino nella riunione conclusiva durante la presidenza italiana, diventasse realtà. Voglio ovviamente salutare la segretaria generale, i presidenti, i primi ministri qui presenti e tutti voi. Sono passati 18 anni dall'ultimo vertice del Consiglio d'Europa e sono molti, ma non tanti quanti sembrano se guardiamo a quanto da allora è mutato il contesto che ci circonda. La brutale aggressione russa all'Ucraina ha messo in discussione molte certezze sulle quali noi per troppo tempo ci eravamo ingenuamente adagiati. Ed è giusto che un atto così grave sia condannato proprio qui, dal Consiglio d'Europa, la casa di tutti gli europei, costruita con il compito preciso di evitare il ripetersi delle atrocità della Seconda Guerra Mondiale, difendendo la democrazia e difendendo il diritto, quel diritto degli Stati senza il quale noi non possiamo difendere il diritto degli uomini. Il popolo ucraino, con la sua eroica reazione all'invasione, non sta difendendo solamente la sua patria, sta difendendo i valori fondanti dell'identità europea, la libertà, la democrazia, la giustizia, l'uguaglianza tra gli uomini. Se l'Ucraina fosse capitolata, se l'avesse fatto in pochi giorni, come molti prevedevano, noi oggi vivremmo un mondo molto più insicuro. Non vivremmo una realtà di pace, come racconta quella propaganda così cinica da fingere di scambiare un'invasione con la parola pace. Noi vivremmo un mondo nel quale alla forza del diritto si sostituisce il diritto del più forte, e quel mondo è un mondo che non conviene a nessuno. E questa è la ragione per la quale al Presidente Zelensky voglio dire che l'intera Europa e tutto il mondo libero sono loro debitori. Anche in questo intervento il Presidente Zelensky ha detto molto spesso grazie, ci ha ringraziato per come noi stiamo aiutando l'Ucraina, ma io voglio dire al Presidente Zelensky che siamo noi a essere debitori dell'Ucraina, perché l'Ucraina, con la sua determinazione, ha fatto capire al mondo intero quanto possa essere difficile piegare un popolo libero. E per questo noi faremo la nostra parte, per garantire all'Ucraina il futuro di libertà, di integrità, di democrazia che merita, il futuro europeo che merita. Per questo l'Italia ha, tra le altre cose, immediatamente aderito all'accordo promosso dal Consiglio d'Europa per istituire il registro dei danni causati dalla guerra, perché non vi sia impunità. E per questo non potevo non essere qui a testimoniare l'impegno dell'Italia per difendere il diritto internazionale e per difendere i valori fondanti della nostra comune identità europea, partendo dal principio fondamentale dal quale discendono tutti gli altri. E quel principio è la centralità della persona, il rispetto di ogni singolo essere umano, della sua sacra unicità. Ed è questo un valore che noi oggi siamo chiamati a proteggere su molti fronti, dalle antiche sfide fatte di violenza e sopraffazione, ma anche dalle nuove sfide della nostra epoca. Mai come in questo tempo la scienza e la tecnologia corrono veloci. Penso all'ingegneria genetica, all'intelligenza artificiale, alle questioni bioetiche. Penso al rischio che correremmo se dovessimo considerare questi domini delle zone franche senza regole. Il rischio cioè di un progresso non più volto a rafforzare e ampliare le capacità umane, ma un progresso in cui le capacità umane vengono sostituite, surrogate, in un mondo sempre più dominato dall'ineguaglianza, dalla concentrazione di potere e di ricchezza nelle mani di pochi. E un mondo dominato dall'uguaglianza non è un mondo democratico e dunque non è un mondo europeo. Oggi più che mai noi siamo chiamati a ribadire la difesa della dignità umana in ogni contesto, perché questa è l'Europa, una roccaforte di valori costruita nei millenni, la nostra vera, unica forza dinanzi alla violenza dei tiranni, ma anche dinanzi ai nuovi pericoli che vivono le nostre società. Nel 1949 10 nazioni, tra cui l'Italia, diedero vita al Consiglio d'Europa, una decisione che nasceva dalla convinzione che la tutela dei valori fondamentali di libertà, democrazia e dignità umana fosse la base per una prosperità condivisa e pacifica in Europa. Oggi siamo in 46 e siamo qui, riuniti a Reikiavik, per dire con forza che la nostra missione ora è più attuale che mai. Vi ringrazio.
That our mission is more timely than ever before. Thank you very much.
Dear guests, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Addressing a huge crowd on the streets of Strasbourg in 1949, Winston Churchill, one of the founding fathers of this council, spoke about le génie de l'Europe. He was talking about what makes our continent so successful, the values of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. The same spirit we've seen again and again, that led Václav Havel to broadcast his messages of freedom during the suppression of the Prague Spring, that brought down the Berlin Wall, and that leads Ukraine to defend its sovereignty with such valor, inspiring us to stand with them all. The Council of Europe has nurtured that spirit for 3/4 of a century, and it must do so again now. Because today we are facing the greatest threat to democracy and the rule of law on our continent since before the Treaty of London was signed. With Russia waging a war of aggression on European soil and China growing in assertiveness, the world is becoming more contested and more volatile. The challenge to our values is growing, and the moment to push back is now. Democracies like ours must build resilience so that we can out-cooperate and out-compete those who drive instability. That's why we're working so closely with our friends across Europe, through the G7, NATO, the Joint Expeditionary Force, the European political community, and with a welcome new tone in our relations with the European Union. Friends, the United Kingdom may have left the EU, but we have not left Europe. We remain a proud European nation, and we must work together to defend the values we all hold so dear. The Council of Europe, with its huge reach, has such a vital role to play. And we need to think about how this Council should react to the realities of today. We showed great purpose in expelling Russia last year, acting decisively together within days of the invasion. And let's bring that dynamism to the issues before us now. And let's send a message from this hall, loud and clear, that we will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. We will hold Russia accountable for the horrendous war crimes that have been committed. And we must also learn the lessons of this war by being prepared to confront threats to our societies before they become too big to deal with. That includes acting on cybersecurity and AI, and it means tackling illegal migration. The moral case for action is clear. We can't just sit back and watch as criminal gangs profiteer on people's misery. Illegal migration exploits the most vulnerable. It risks crowding out those with a genuine case for asylum, and it strains the trust that our citizens have, not just in our domestic borders, but in the international system. And that's why so many of us are already acting at the national level, and why we need to do more to cooperate across borders and across jurisdictions to end illegal migration and stop the boats. The Council already plays a vital role, but I urge leaders to consider how we can go further, because we know what we can achieve together. Just look at this Council's extraordinary legacy, protecting human rights, abolishing the death penalty in Europe, supporting media freedom, and championing democracy across Central and Eastern Europe after the Cold War. So let's take heart from that and keep rising to the many challenges before us, true to our enduring values, and certain that, as Churchill went on to tell the Strasbourg crowd, the dangers before us are great, but great too is our strength. Thank you.
Dear guests, the President of the Republic of Poland.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Europe was established at a very special time and with a very concrete goal. It was a moment when the whole world, and Europe in particular, was just overcoming the horrors of the war. The old world was set on fire by imperialism and national egoisms. They implied, among others, lack of respect for freedom of citizens, the value of human life, the rule of law and democracy. The Council of Europe was set up to defend those very values. They unite us and provide the foundation for our unique community. We need to bear in mind when we start our discussion today. We are a community of values, and it's our duty to defend them. Ladies and gentlemen, the summits of the Council of Europe do not take place every year. Neither do they take place on a regular basis. They are held at crucial and historic moments which require a deeper reflection on the values that underpin our organization. Especially the first summit in Vienna in 1993, in October, soon after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and the third summit in Warsaw in 2005, which followed the biggest enlargement of the European Union, took place at moments of strategic importance for the future of Europe. This is the case also today. Unfortunately, the summit in Reykjavik is taking place at the time of the largest attack on democratic values since the fall of totalitarian regimes on the old continent. With its invasion of Ukraine, Russia wants not only to destroy the country, it also wants to revise all the values which form the basis of the Council of Europe. Let us remember that Putin's plan includes, in its wider context, the construction of a different order, an order based on values contrary to ours. In such a world, democracy becomes an empty notion. What matters is just naked force. Human rights are only a facade, as every citizen can be sentenced to tens of years in a penal colony or lose their life for any reason. All of us here must be fully aware of this. At previous summits, our countries debated on the directions of development after the spectacular triumphs of democracy. Today, we are meeting at the critical moment, when Russia, a member state of the Council of Europe just a year ago, together with its vassal Lukashenko, is attacking the whole free world. We must not yield to that. We have to be even stronger and more united. Let's use this moment to boost our identity and unity. We have an opportunity to express it at the commencing debates. That's why the declaration which we are going to adopt here is so crucial. It confirms, first of all, our joint responsibility and determination to support Ukraine as long as it takes. An issue of equal importance will be the one to establish the register of damages inflicted on Ukraine by the Russian aggression. It's an important step to hold to account those guilty of crimes committed in Ukraine. Crimes have to be accounted for. It's of key importance to compensate the victims and their loved ones, but it's also a precondition for peace and stability in future. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me remind the words which I said on many occasions before. Today, it's Ukraine who sheds its blood and gives lives in the name of the values which underpin our identity. We, the free world, must be determined to support them in this fight. Without such support, all our declarations will remain void. Thank you.
Dear guests, the President of the European Commission.
Prime Minister, dear Katrin, first of all, thank you so much for hosting us in this lively and vibrant city of Reykjavik. Presidents and Prime Ministers, Secretary General, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Today, war is back in Europe. But for many Ukrainians, this conflict began already 10 years ago. It began when peaceful protesters, just waving the European flags in Maidan Square, were shot dead by snipers. It began with Russia's first invasion of Crimea and Donbass in 2014. Sakharov Prize winner Alexandra Matvichuk is one of these Ukrainians. She started documenting human rights violations by the regime and by Russian troops already a decade ago. She spent countless nights listening to the victims and to their families. Alexandra and her friends at the Ukrainian Center for Civil Liberties have never stopped fighting for democracy, for human rights, for a free and independent Ukraine, for over 10 long years. And that's why they were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. As we gather here in Iceland, allow me to quote Alexandra's words. She said, "It is to stop Ukraine's progress towards genuine democracy that Russia invaded. It is not NATO that Putin fears, it is democracy. This is a war of values. Russia is fighting against the values that are Europe's hallmark, and Europe must take responsibility." End of quote. She is so right. Ukraine is fighting for the values we believe in and we hold so dearly. And I'm so grateful that we are united in protecting peace and promoting democracy, because this is the very reason why the Council of Europe was created. And this is what brings us here today. as Russia wages war against democracy itself, Europe is united in standing up for Ukraine. This is our commitment. Rightly so. The Ukrainian people are demanding accountability for Russia's war crimes, the shelling of civilian homes, the executions in cold blood, the abduction of children from their families. Over 19,000 children have been stolen, torn away from their families. This is what the summit of Iceland should focus on. This is why we are here to discuss these topics. It is important for Ukrainians today because the prospect of accountability can already deter Russian soldiers from committing new war crimes. But it is also important for the future, because only justice can be the foundation of lasting peace in Ukraine. A just peace. Ladies and gentlemen, since the creation of the Council of Europe, our continent has embarked on a journey towards democracy. We rebuilt not only our cities, but also the moral foundations of Europe. We have put freedom, equality, and solidarity at the heart of our societies. Our journey has continued as more and more European countries moved from dictatorship to democracy, and that journey continues today. It continues inside our countries, whenever human rights and the rule of law are challenged. It continues in Ukraine and in every place where people are taking to the streets and waving the flag of our common values. And today, we recommit to these values. We will do everything possible so that Ukraine wins the peace, a just peace. And we will do nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. This is why we strongly support Ukraine's peace formula. The Ukrainian peace formula is the foundation of their path towards peace. And that is why I call on us at this summit to really rally behind this peace formula. In these testing times, it is so important that we all join forces. The Ukrainians are fighting for democracy and for freedom. It is our common fight, and we stand by their side for as long as it takes. Slava Ukraini, long live Europe.
Dear guests, the Secretary-General of the Council of Europe.
Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents, Mesdames et Messieurs les Premiers ministres, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, lorsque le Conseil de l'Europe a été créé, c'était au lendemain d'une guerre mondiale dévastatrice. Les fondateurs de notre organisation étaient déterminés qu'une telle violence soit reléguée au passé, que la paix soit fondée sur une plus grande unité des États membres. Depuis 1949, notre organisation a créé un espace juridique commun où s'applique la Convention européenne des droits de l'homme et où une Cour la fait respecter au bénéfice de chaque citoyen. Dans l'histoire de l'humanité, aucun continent n'a jamais construit quoi que ce soit de comparable. Mais la poursuite de ce projet requiert de toute urgence votre attention. L'agression de la Fédération de Russie contre l'Ukraine est le point final terrible de la rupture de ce pays avec les valeurs et les normes européennes. This summit forms part of our response. You can answer Russia's spiral of dissent by lifting Europe up and ensuring the peace and democratic security that come when rights are respected. So I invite you to recommit to the organization's values and standards, not just in words, but by deeds. The implementation of the European Convention on Human Rights, the unconditional execution of the court's final judgments, and support for Ukraine. Ensuring accountability for Russia's crimes by endorsing a register of damage, and tackling the outrageous abduction of Ukrainian children by Russia. You can take action to reverse the democratic backsliding and apply our timeless standards to contemporary challenges, such as artificial intelligence and climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe faces a choice. Let our standards fail and see Europe go backwards into the wild, or reinvest in what has brought us so much good. Now is the time to set that course for the benefit of all Europeans.
Особиста історія, наприклад, з Радою Європи почалася в 2013 році, коли я вперше побувала на їхньому навчанні. І для мене це був інший рівень взаємодії між людьми. І якщо ви можете робити цю молодіжну роботу, робіть. Якщо ви транслюєте якісь речі ціннісні і важливі, то якщо ви будете займатися цією молодіжною роботою, є варіант, що ви зможете вплинути і покращити якість життя цих молодих людей.
Dear guests, pianist Víkingur Heiðar Ólafsson.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my immense honor to be here today to play for you a very special song, a song that has united the Icelandic people in times of happiness and in times of grief. A song that was written some 100 years ago by Sigvaldi Kaldalóns, one of the first composers of Iceland. A song that, like all great art, belongs not to a nation, but to all nations. The song is called Ave Maria. It is a prayer, and today's performance is dedicated to the people of Ukraine, an Icelandic prayer for peace and for justice in Europe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Víkingur. I think every Icelander cries when we hear this song. Dear colleagues, thank you for your remarks, and thank you all for being here and make this moment a meaningful moment for the future of Europe. And now we will get to work. Thank you all.